The gospel reading is from John chapter 8, verses 51 through 59. Jesus said, "Very truly I tell you, whoever obeys my word will never see death." At this they exclaimed, "Now we know that you are demon-possessed. Abraham died, and so did the prophets. Yet you say that whoever obeys your word will never taste death? Are you greater than our father Abraham? He died, and so did the prophets. Who do you think you are?" Jesus replied, "If I glorify myself, my glory means nothing. My Father, whom you claim as your God, is the one who glorifies me. Though you do not know him, I know him. If I said I did not, I would be a liar like you, but I do know him and obey his word. Your father Abraham rejoiced at the thought of seeing my day. He saw it and was glad." "You are not yet 50 years old," they said to him, "and you have seen Abraham?" "Very truly I tell you," Jesus answered, "before Abraham was born, I am." At this they picked up stones to stone him, but Jesus hid himself, slipping away from the temple grounds. Word of God, word of life.
Thanks be to God. You may be seated. Ever since I've been a pastor almost 19 years now, and throughout my whole ministry, it's been a joy to do. Where's my sermon? Where'd my sermon go? There we go. That one goes there. Okay, there we go. To do drama within worship, drama to dramatize the gospel story, drama on Good Friday, drama on Easter Sunday, drama on Palm Sunday, and so drama has been extremely valuable for me in my ministry, and so I would like to do a little bit of drama to start out the sermon. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, so we're going to go to the riches of classic cinema for our drama, and I'm going to ask Pastor David if you'd be willing to help us with the drama.
Happy to.
Okay, so we're going to do a little piece for you based on the classic 1980s Zemeckis film called Airplane. Are you all ready for our... Okay, now stop laughing. This is a very serious piece that we've put together. Okay, let us go.
Roger, Roger.
Over.
Quick, get this man to the hospital.
A hospital? What is that?
Well, it's a big building. It has patients, and that's not important now.
All right. Did you know I have a
Big
drinking...
finish.
Did you know that I have a drinking problem?
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And quit calling me Shirley.
Okay. Shirley.
Probably the most famous line in that. How many of you remember, I am serious, and don't call me Shirley?
Yes.
Right?
Leslie Dillon.
So today, you are going to get a sermon about Shirley. Are you ready for... Have you ever had a sermon about Shirley before?
Never.
Never? Okay. Well, Shirley, you will surely be able to tell your friends that you surely heard a sermon about Shirley today. In Google, it says that Shirley is an adverb, and it is used to emphasize the speaker's firm belief that what they are saying is true, and often they're surprised that there's any doubt about this. So surely you can't be serious. There's a sense of doubt and uncertainty in the use of that word surely, although it can be used with assurance and confidence as well. Now, interesting thing about the word surely, I'm talking about S-U-R-E-L-Y, is it's unique in its use in the Bible for this reason. Sometimes words get highlighted in a particular gospel. For example, in the Gospel of John, the word believe comes out a lot more often than in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, as well as the word love. You'll find believe and love emphasized in the Gospel of John. In the Gospel of Matthew, in the Gospel of Mark, you'll find the word immediately. Almost exclusively in the Gospel of Mark, you'll see the word immediately, and that sort of reflects Mark's urgency to get to the point of the story, the gospel of Jesus Christ. Matthew talks about the kingdom of heaven. And it's very specific to the Gospel of Matthew. But the word surely is very interesting in that you find it in the very first chapters of the Gospel of Genesis, the book of Genesis, chapter 5, you'll find the word surely. It seems like a relatively insignificant word, right? Surely it's just kind of a mild transitional word. You'll find the word surely at the very last chapters of the book of Revelation. You have it at the beginning, at the end. And if you look through a concordance, you'll find the word surely all throughout the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible that give us the law. You'll find the word surely in the prophets. You'll find surely in the wisdom literature. You'll find the word surely scattered throughout the entire Bible, including all 4 Gospels, the book of Acts, and the epistles, and as I mentioned before, the book of Revelation. So what's the big deal about this word surely? Surely can be used in 2 different ways. Who can think of the most famous use of the word surely in the Bible? Yes, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That is written by John, and it betrays kind of absolute trust in God, right? There's kind of just a resting in God's power and authority there. And so that happens throughout the Bible in different times. Isaiah chapter 12, it says, surely God is my salvation, I will trust and not be afraid. So that's kind of one use of the word surely. More often, however, is the way it's used in the airplane movie. Surely you can't be serious, right? There's a mix of confidence with a little bit of doubt. And now we can see within the entire biblical witness from Genesis through Revelation, it kind of is, the whole Bible is written to the human condition of our yearning to be faithful, and yet, if we're honest with ourselves, don't we all have these moments of doubt and disbelief? Does anybody go through a period where they have moments of doubts and disbelief in their lives, right? That, to me, is what this word surely embodies in communication. Surely you can't be serious. And if you look in the Gospel of John, there's all sorts of times when people come to Jesus with this surely question. The one for today, I have to confess, it's a very difficult passage for me in chapter 8 of the Gospel of John, because it's a really nasty fight between some of the Jewish folks at the temple and Jesus. In fact, the entire chapter of 8, it's just a battle back and forth, and as I read it, it really makes me uncomfortable. Jesus is really provoking the religious establishment in many ways, saying, I am the light of the world, saying the Father and I are one. In today's passage, he says, those who follow me and those who believe in me will not even taste death. And he's challenging everything that these people have believed for so long. And so I could give a sermon where I chastise and condemn these haters of Jesus, right? But I don't want to do that today, because as I look at all the people that meet Jesus in the Gospel of John, they each have their own surely question. The haters say, surely you're not greater than Abraham. And Jesus says, before Abraham was, I am. But the question is a point of skepticism, and it's kind of motivated by hate of Jesus, and we probably know some people that are immediately skeptical and critical of the church no matter what. Do you have friends that just sort of, no matter what happens, they're just going to hate on the church? We know people like that. You know what they say, there's too many hypocrites in church. Do you know that? You know what you say when somebody says there's too many hypocrites in church? There's always room for one more. Come on in. But the question to the haters is the same question that different people have came to Jesus with throughout the Gospel of John. And I invite you to consider, what is your own surely question? What is the question that you have that explores the fears and the doubts in your own life? We begin the Gospel with kind of young and new believers. When we go through the transition of being a child, how many of you were forced to come to church today? Good, nobody. At some point, you go through the transition of being forced to come to church to kind of being independent and on your own. And through that transition can be kind of difficult when you have to kind of come to terms with what you believe yourself. In the very beginning of the gospel, there are people that are invited into the church, into the story of Jesus, into the person of Jesus, and they have their own Shirley question. Nathanael is invited by a guy named Philip. He says, "Come and see Jesus. He's doing amazing things." And Nathanael says, "Surely nobody good can come from Nazareth, could they?" They doubt. And they don't believe necessarily that Jesus could be the one, but as he's invited, he discovers the power of Jesus. There's another one named Nicodemus. Everybody say Nicodemus.
Nicodemus.
Nicodemus was part of this religious elite group. He was part of the Pharisaic group. He could see something powerful in Jesus, but he had doubts. He wanted to meet more, so he arranged to meet Jesus at night when nobody could see, when he could kind of have an individual time with Jesus. And Jesus says to him that you must be born from above. And Nicodemus shares his own Shirley question, doesn't he? He says, "Surely a grown man can't be born again," right? This sort of mix of doubt with a yearning to believe. To me, that is our human situation. And these new believers, these uncertain believers, they give their Shirley to Jesus, right? They communicate and they express their Shirley to Jesus. As we get older in life, we find ourselves with scars from our human experience, sometimes scars done by family members, by life, by trauma. How many of you have a trauma in your own life that you're scarred by? And imagine bringing your Shirley to Jesus. This is what happens to the woman at the well. Jesus comes across the Samaritan town where most people wouldn't even dare to tread, and he finds this woman who is at the well, at Jacob's well. And she's there at the noonday. Probably many people believe she's there because she doesn't want to deal with the people that judge her and condemn her and look down on her in the morning hours when most people get their water, and she wants to avoid any condemnation. So she comes to the well in the middle of the day in the heat of the noonday sun when she meets Jesus. And Jesus boldly asks her for some water. And through the conversation, she discovers that this Jesus is very unique, and she says, "Surely you're not greater than Jacob who gave this well, are you?" And amid her wounds, she shares her story, and Jesus knows every inch of her life. And she receives what Jesus says, "I am the living water." And she goes from that moment forth, and you know what she does? She's been freed of her shame. And she goes and tells everybody what happened to her. She tells her story. She witnesses and testifies. And she tells everybody about Jesus. And she shared her Shirley with Jesus. Some of us have Shirleys that are deeply, deeply wounded because of grief of the loss of loved ones. Martha had a brother named Lazarus. Martha loved her brother so much, and she knew that Jesus loved Lazarus as well. And so she called out when Lazarus became sick and said, "Jesus, come and help Lazarus. He's your friend. Make him better." And what did Jesus do? Nothing. Here he is healing all these different strangers that come across. Anybody that comes to him, he heals. And now one of his best friends is sick. And he lets him die. And by the time Jesus gets to near where he has died, Martha is already deep in grief. She runs out to meet Jesus. "Surely, if you had been here, he would still be alive." She's angry, isn't she? How come you help all these other people and you won't help Lazarus, your own friend? And Jesus continues to communicate that I am the resurrection and the life. And she shares her anger with Jesus. And Jesus transforms that anger into great joy. And soon Lazarus will be risen to live again. Even after the resurrection, Jesus comes across Shirley's, right? Remember Thomas. Thomas says, I will not believe. Surely he is not alive because I can't even touch his hands. And when I touch his hands, then I will believe. Surely he is not risen. And then later on in the very last chapter, Peter finds himself being interrogated by Jesus. Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? 3 times. So much so that now Peter is hurt. He's hurt. And he says, surely, Jesus, you believe that I love you. How do you deal with your Shirley? Do you try to hide it? Do you try to pretend it doesn't exist? Or can you trust Jesus enough to share it with him and to talk with him and to listen? It turns out, do you know how many times Jesus says the word surely in the Bible? You want to guess? Never. And in the Gospel of John, he says one thing over and over and over again. He says, very truly I tell you. Very truly I tell you, he says to the haters, before Abraham was, I am. What a powerful word. Everybody say that with me. I am. I am. Before Abraham came into being, I am. Before Nathanael, Nicodemus, the woman at the well, before all of us came into being, I am. Before your problems, before your trials and tribulations, before a little baby is born, I am. Very truly, I tell you, I am. Jesus, in the Gospel of John, is remarkable in the sense that he has this steadfast, constant walk to the cross. There will be nothing to distract him from his mission in this world. For God so loved the world that he sent his only Son so that we may have life. And he walks to the cross and he is lifted up on the cross for the world to see his glory. Imagine when you face your Shirleys in your life, Jesus saying to you, very truly, I am. To those who are struggling with grief, hear the words of Jesus, very truly, I love you. To those who are beginning their adult life, trying to find their place in the world, hear the words of Jesus, very truly, I love you. To those who have been wounded by trauma in your own lives, hear the words of Jesus, very truly, I love you. To everyone in this room, hear the words of Jesus, very truly, I am. And don't call me Shirley. Amen.